All right, guys. Our next guest has been described as a national treasure. John Kavanagh calls him his favorite fighter. Take that, Conor McGregor. A pioneer of Aussie MMA and the highly decorated general of Dad's Army. Dan Kelly himself. Welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you today?
Very good. Thank you for the roll-in. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'll tell you what, man, there's a lot of credentials there that need to be added to Wikipedia. So we were innocently scrolling through Twitter the other day, Dan, when we saw another call-out come your way. Zak Cummings wants to face you on December 2nd, December 1st in the States at UFC Adelaide. Tell us, what did you think when you saw that coming through? You'd be used to these kinds of call-outs by now.
I am. I was just sitting there minding my own business. And yeah, it popped up and I was very excited by it. I mean, obviously, I'm coming towards the end of my career, and that's a matchup that makes a lot of sense and is also very suitable for me. He's got a good record. He's a little bit older. He's 34, and he's a grappler, so it's always fun to go against grapplers. I've got good records against grapplers, and yeah, I jumped on it and said, oh, okay, that'd be interesting, and plus. If I can get it, it'll be my last fight. This would be the swan song and the farewell.
Wow. So I guess let's talk about that because that's the big news. So when did you make this decision that this is going to be your retirement fight?
It's been coming for a while. I'm 41 in October. Obviously, I'm on the biggest skid of my career by far in terms of results. The last fight really annoyed me because I did everything properly in terms of preparation and it was an injury more than anything else. I mean, the knuckle of his thumb went into my eye, not his finger. It was a fair punch, but it's taken two months for the eye to get right. I've just started back training, and yeah, I don't want to finish. I don't want to finish over the other side of the world. If I get the opportunity, I want to finish at home, and then go on to the next phase of my life.
Do you reckon there's any chance if you have a big performance in Adelaide, you might consider doing one more fight, or is that something you want to make clear before you go in there?
That's it. Make very clear this is it. This is it. Either Adelaide or early next year. There's rumblings and rumours of a fight show in Melbourne. Either one of those. But I want to finish here. No, I think I put on some pretty good performances in the UFC in Australia. And the crowds have been right behind me, and I'd like to finish that way here. Added to which, my eldest son's a little bit older now. I want him to be involved too. He's in high school now. I want him to be involved a little bit. And I've always been very sure to keep them separated from that. But he's nearly 13. He's old enough to just experience that with me. Added to which, I see what Jake and Mick have got, which is very special. And I'm very close to those guys. And also Jimmy Crute having his dad over at the Contender Series. And obviously Jimmy trains with us a lot too, and it's a good friend of mine. Added to which, seeing Mark Hunt walk out with Noah in Perth, I want this last opportunity to share that with Eric.
Well, I was going to say that is interesting because you've always made it a big thing that you don't really let your kids watch your fights. I think you're sort of selective if they're maybe less bloody, if they're a little bit, I guess, depending on what the result is, you let them watch. So in terms of being involved, how would you have your son involved in this situation, in your fight?
I'd want him to walk out with me for the fight. I mean, yeah, I mean, everyone knows the history with Eric. I mean, I keep it a little bit private, but I think it'd be a special thing and a special moment to share with him to be able to do that one last time with his dad.
Because obviously we know there's a lot of medical issues there. I'm wondering, Dan, is that something that you've spoken to him about yet, or is it something that you want to confirm the fight's happening before you bring it up with him?
I floated it by him a little bit.
What was his reaction when you mentioned it? Because I imagine that would be a very exciting thing to hear.
It's an exciting thing. He was a little bit worried to start with. He's like, oh, are you sure? I don't want to be a distraction. And I said, son, you're the last thing you would be is a distraction in that kind of situation. And yeah, he was excited. But I mean, there's a lot of things to happen. I mean, I'm out of contract now. I barely had any contact with the UFC. The eye's getting better. Oh, I'm in a little, not limbo, but like it's, yeah, we've got to see what happens. There's a lot of things to happen before I get the opportunity to do this one last time. But let's be honest. I mean, even though I'm on a 3-fight losing streak, I've still got positive record in the UFC. I'm 6-4. I've had some really good wins, some really big wins at home too. I mean, the Kamosi fight, the Shoot-Face fight, they were massive, massive wins in Australia.
For
The whole
sure.
crowd got behind me there. So it'd be great to get one last roll of the dice, and then that's it.
So I guess what are you expecting from the UFC? Because I don't think you've been in this position before where you were out of contract, and it's been a little while since UFC London, since your last fight. Are you a little bit, I guess, concerned the fact that you haven't had any contact? You said you've had barely any contact. What kind of contact have you had?
So I sent an email to Mick. I mean, and the matchmakers are really, really busy, and I sent him an email saying, I injured my eye badly. Would have been nice to have a fairy tale finish in Australia, and went through that. And Mick went, thanks for the email. I hope your eye heals up. So it's not like he didn't say it. It was a very generic, like, thanks for the email. Hope everything heals up. And then I haven't had any contact since. So I don't know yet. I haven't. I wasn't thinking about it too much, and then when I jumped on and I'm getting called out again, that kind of pricked my ears up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's not like I don't think I can still be competitive again. It's just this would be it. All good things come to an end, and I'd like it to be on my terms more than on the other side of the world.
Certainly, and I mean, we all know there's the knee. We've seen it being taped up before. In terms of how you're feeling physically, is that one of the aspects of wanting to retire as well, Dan? Just, are you feeling something different in the gym as you prepare for the fights? Do you feel like the recovery time and all that is starting to take a little bit longer than usual, or is it just the same it's been for the last sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 years?
No. It's much harder now. Turning 40 is like falling off a cliff. The big thing is at the moment, actually doing a lot of judo. So we've got guys. Obviously, I was the Olympic coach last time. We've got guys trying to qualify again, and I've been spending a lot of time doing judo, which is a lot harder on my body than the MMA training was, and the recovery is more painful, and the training's more painful. But I mean, I still did six days of training last week, and the week before I started rolling back into it. So I've only just been back at it the last couple of weeks because of the eye. But it's still there. The desire to do it's still there. But at the same time, I've got to go. No, that's enough. Time to concentrate on some other stuff as well. And linking in having the family involved potentially is a good way to finish.
And I was going to say, like, we can sort of sit here and outline all the logical reasons, and obviously that's sort of the main thing that you've looked at when making the decision. But there's also, the human side, the emotional side. Like, now that you've made the decision, you've said, look, I am going to retire. How do you feel about it? How does that make you feel knowing that, this next fight is going to be the last one?
It's a little bit exciting.
Yeah,
well, in a way, because I'd do anything to be able to roll back the clock and keep going, but the body is struggling. At some point, you do have to stop. I mean, I've got guys who I coach not only in judo, in MMA as well. I mean, Big Ben Sassoli's in the Ultimate Fighter House at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I coach him. We've got another group of MMA guys who are coming up. So it's a good time. It's just now that we're starting to get some of the Melbourne guys in, apart from it just being me and Jay, it'd be nice to cross over that way as well and have a show where, Jimmy will definitely be on this one and probably the next one. Ben will be floating around by that time too, I hope. And it'd be good just to have that transition out.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because obviously a lot of talented guys that you're working with. Let's talk about the fight itself. Zak Cummings, what do you think about him as a competitor in the fight? I mean, you mentioned some of the aspects of the fact that he likes to grapple. He's a little bit older. But if you guys do end up fighting in Adelaide, how do you see that fight playing out, especially knowing that it's your last fight and having your son out there with you? Is there a particular way you see this one going?
Yeah, I think I'll finish him. He's got okay striking. He's a wrestler and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's very strong on top. And I've got a pretty good record in not letting wrestlers take me down. So I think it'll be a fight that's a lot of it stand-up, a lot of scrambling, a little bit like the fight I had against Rashad and against Shootface. And yeah, I think it'll be an exciting fight for fans to watch too. It's a great matchup for me. I only ever have had trouble in my career against really heavy power punchers and guys who are high level strikers. I mean, guys who are coming from a grappling background, crossing over, I've tended to do okay against.
And sort of going back to before, you were outlining some of the guys that you've got coming up. You've got the excellent gym, Resilience Training Center, and obviously you do a lot of judo as well. But is that sort of the next chapter of your life when you're sort of retiring as an active fighter? What's sort of going to be, I guess, your next career? Is it going to be to continue training guys, and that's going to be sort of the new Dan Kelly, or is there going to be something else that you're going to be sort of working on as well?
Where I'll keep training the guys. The gym's still growing. I'm doing a Wimp to Warrior series down here this year
wow.
as well, which I'm really excited about. Do some other odds and ends, commentating and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll be happy to be able to keep doing that and be able to sit back and be satisfied with what I've done. You get a little bit reflective as you get older. I've pretty much milked every bit of skill, strategy, tactics, body out of myself anyway. So I want to finish on a good note. Man, fairy tales don't always turn out to be the best, but to have the opportunity to do that would be great. I mean, I've been to 4 Olympics, Commonwealth Games for wrestling. I've fought 10 times in the UFC now, so it'd be a nice way to finish and cap off a good athletic career. That's the big thing as well.
And I got to ask, do you have a preference as far as which card you land on? Because you mentioned, we already know there's Adelaide, but you might see Melbourne at the start of next year. You would assume that Robert Whittaker would be on that card, a lot of other Aussies. And also, I feel like with Adelaide, I mean, you would have some connection to Adelaide, but you'd have more of a connection to Melbourne because that is officially your hometown. It'd be easier for the family and friends to come over. And I think you had so many fights in Melbourne as well. So would you sort of have a preference, or are you just happy to take either at this point?
At this point, happy to take either. If I was given an option, I'd take Melbourne every day of the week. But either one would be okay. Melbourne, I mean, I've had 2 great performances in Melbourne. I beat Steve Montgomery when I got to fight on the Rousey home card that Eddie had, and then the Chris Camozzi fight, which the roof nearly raised when I won that one.
Yep.
And that was a little bit of a bloody affair. So I've got very fond memories of fighting in Melbourne. It would be it'd be the best finish, but I'm happy with Adelaide as well. It's Australia. I mean, the Aussie fans always get right behind me. In Sydney, in Brisbane as well, they always get right behind me. So I don't really mind it. It's only a road trip over to Adelaide from Melbourne anyway. And
I was just going to say, sort of, we'll let you go in a moment, but I do love this whole idea of you bringing in your son, him sort of being not in the cage with you, but sort of cage side, making that walk with you. And I kind of feel like it'd be a fitting end to your career because, people have always seen you as a dad. You're very open about that. You've got the hashtag Dad's Army, and here you'd be finishing your career and sort of highlighting the fact that you are a dad as well.
Absolutely. And I think I've been a pretty good ambassador for the sport down here as well. And it is a hard sport, but as I said before, Eric's old enough now to experience that and share that with me. And it'd be a really, really good end and a really good experience for us to share, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan, we're excited. I think all the fans need to get behind this fight ASAP. Jump on Instagram, jump on Facebook, tag Mick, tag the UFC, tag Zach, and let's get this fight happening. Hopefully in Adelaide, hopefully in Melbourne. Of course, follow Dan on Twitter at Dan Kelly Judo. Of course, go to the Resilience Training Center, resiliencetrainingcenter.com. It's a fantastic facility, and we're going to have a bunch of techniques coming out with you soon, Dan, where you'll be showing a bunch of stuff there. So we're very excited. Everybody get behind this thing. And Dan, thanks so much for your time.
Nah, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.